All right, most excellent pre-sales again. Pre-sales. Maurice, we'll let you start off first.
All right.
And the pre-foreclosures and set us up.
Okay. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for your time. And thank you for the opportunity to be able to share and impart some of this stuff. Excellent class. Always good takeaways. In class. So the pre-foreclosure we talked about last week, and I really want to do more listening and ask questions, and so that I can hopefully be able to answer some more of the questions based on last, instead of a lot of talking last week, I want to listen more, if that's okay with you, to, have some content, but want to answer more of your questions so that they can be more valuable.
That's actually perfect.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. That's actually perfect. So let's do a review then. Let me start off with the review real quick. What's a foreclosure, right? It's a homeowner's not able to meet the obligation. We talked about you got a mortgage state or a deed of trust state, and we sent you that list. What else? Let me look at some of these notes. It could be problems with the property. You got to have the right heart because there's a lot of money in it. You can't be screwing people over. Pre-foreclosures are very different from other real estate deals because the owner is still in the house. That kind of sets a new tone for the whole problem. Never, I'll just stop. I always have an exit strategy. It's plenty more I said, but the most important thing that I think I said was don't you get no negative cash flow situation ever for no reason at all, ever. Okay, that's my review. And then go ahead, Maurice.
No, yeah, that's and pre-foreclosure, we talked about the process of it being a source of inventory. Pre-foreclosure, the short sale, and also that the pre-foreclosure begins with the missed payments. So while we're in the market now where inventory is very scarce, inventory is being sold in different ways. It's being sold in bulk. A good source for a person interested in buying pre-foreclosure properties. If you ever see those signs, you're right around, I'm not sure if you're in your state, you'll see a sign that may be handwritten or be tacked to a telephone pole and it say, "We buy houses." And it'll say, we'll buy houses for cheap, or we'll buy your house in any condition. That's guerrilla marketing, right? And what they're doing is they're targeting that pre-foreclosure market and those individuals that have equity that may be in trouble. And that's another target for those assets. Somebody getting in trouble or they're in trouble with their property, they pick up the phone, and it's a numbers game. And maybe 1 out of 20, 1 out of 30, they're gonna hit that jackpot with an older lady that don't know the value that she has in her property, or the individual that may be going through the distress divorce situation, or whatever it is that causes it, and to cause those payments. And I guess the main point is that those are a good source of finding those deals that you don't have to use your money. Because we talked a lot about that last week, or we talked some about that, about not using your own money, how to leverage other people's money and how to leverage equity or what's in the deal and turn it to your advantage to make it part of the transaction. There's something I learned this year in commercial about leveraging your position in a transaction. So we were putting together a deal, and it was a large deal for commercial development. And see, he who has the land has the power, and if you got that property, and if you own property, don't get rid of it. I don't care what shape it's in. I don't care what area they tell you. Don't believe the hype about, it was a few years ago, Detroit, it was talking about, people was afraid to go and touch Detroit. All the values are going back up. Now, low hanging fruit, 5 to 10 years ago, to buy property $5,000 or $10,000. So value is in the land. And I wanted to get back to that deal. So there's a lot of ways to leverage your position in the transaction. And we talked about, the pre-foreclosure and staying on leveraging the the equity in the transaction. We talked about being put on the deed, you know, or being put into the transaction. And so I want to give a real scenario. There's a property, someone is losing their property, and you, through your research or whatever, if you put it in a funnel and they're losing the property, and you found them and they're losing the property, and you know that there's equity in the property. They don't have the means, the wherewithal, or know how to salvage that property. You can go into the property and, you know, hey, I'm willing to give you, property's worth 200,000. Let's say 200,000. They owe 100,000. And you can go into the deal and say, okay, you can't qualify for a loan right now. I can. I'll give you, you know, I'll give you 120 of it, or 120,000. But you have to put me on a transaction, put me in the transaction in order to, you have to put me on deed in order for me to refinance the deal. Person refinances it. That's one way to refinance, and that's leveraging the equity in that transaction. So just saying that those pre-foreclosures are a good source of inventory. So if there's a way to find the list, get a hold of a list. We talked about property preservation last week, because I mentioned that because for individuals that's doing property preservation, that there's a list that property preservation companies will get, because they'll get the property, they get an assignment to go out to the property prior to when 3 payments is missed. And they got to go out to that property and do an inspection. Why did I mention that? So let's say if your neighborhood, a house goes up, it goes vacant, somebody loses it, and your next door neighbor, and you ever see people come by there taking pictures, or taking pictures of the property, and you know, I ain't never seen them pull up in the car and just taking pictures. That might be a good person to tap and ask, you know, because I guarantee they got a whole list of properties, other properties that he's looking at, that he is doing those inspections for. So if nothing more, that person got a list of properties that a person might be 3 payments behind on, you know, and looking to go into foreclosure in the near future. So I just wanted to, you know, I guess stop right there and just see if any of that, I don't want to keep going into it too without, just see if any questions on that part of any of that.
Yeah, no doubt. So any questions? Okay, Lisa, any questions? Anybody's got questions on pre-foreclosure? No questions?
Gotcha.
All right. Now, we got no questions. I mean, I got plenty to say, but I'll save it for a non-Q&A thingamabobby.
Yes, sir.
I can tell you that when I first got in pre-foreclosure, people were more interested in getting $40,000 a sale. Like that was their goal. Mm-hmm. Their goal was to get $40,000. Call them short sales. The goal was to get $40,000 out of it.
Yeah.
Each time. That was the goal. That was the culture. And
that's a good number too.
That's a real good number. It's a real good number. But it sets a culture too, though. You know, when you look at someone as a $40,000 opportunity, then you know, there's some. You're going into the deal to get $40,000 out of it means that you're going to do whatever it takes to get $40,000 out of it. You're going to spend those numbers, do that work. Just imagine going into a car lot and the car salesperson is saying, I'm going to get $40,000 out of Alicia. So it doesn't matter what your credit score is. Even if you have a good credit score, I'm going to add add-ons to it so I get my $40,000. I'm not going to sell you what you need. I want to sell you what is in alignment with my commission.
Yep.
And when you have that goal in mind, you don't tend to treat a short sale pre-foreclosure in the manner in which you should because of the Well, because you got a dollar amount of money, you're going to make that dollar amount happen. So, you want to comment on that? That's actually the last thing I'll say today, and then we can go on a whole tangent. Go ahead.
Got you. Yeah. No. So it speaks to being purpose driven, and even to the point of your one of the things I learned early on is that each investor is different. So like Antonio said, a lot of times most investors will have like a summary. Okay, I need to see $400 a month profit on my rentals, which is a good number for a rental property. If you can see a positive cash flow a month of $400, or my number is $40,000 a turnover. So if I'm doing 4 a year or 1 a year, that deal has to generate $40,000. But that being the case, your goal could be that, but that can't be the primary focus of the transaction, because every deal is different. As I learned, that every investor is different. So it's almost, you have to go into it with an open mind and know that every deal is going to be different. My goal may be 40,000, but it can't be driven on the dollar amount, only solely, on the dollar amount only. Not that this is a ministry in a sense, it is business, and there's going to be different things that come up. Hence is why most of the time you always calculate and add for that. So you add a cushion for, the unexpected, because you're always thinking, and that's one of the other things too is, and you learn, when you buy an investment property, if it's multi-units, you want those properties to be already separated, utilities already separated. You don't want because that cuts way into your bottom line. And we talked about last week about properties not being negative cash flowing. It could look good on paper, and they say that show you that net, okay, the ROI, you got $20,000 a month coming in, and you have $10,000 a month going out, but what they didn't count for was your utilities, or the utilities is not in there, or that number doesn't include your monthly mortgage payment. So that's one of the main things. It's so important to know that you definitely got to know your numbers, and definitely know, the real numbers of what exactly is, what it really is, and a lot of times that's why, I like working with investors, because most investors come to his numbers is his bottom line. That's his lifeline. So if his number is $40,000 at the end of the transaction, that's his number. He's going to probably be shooting for like 60, or shooting for to get it where it's 60 in it or 50 in it. I ain't going below 45. But that's, again, each investor is different. And that's going to be, so how you set yourself up is, and I go to it respecting that each investor is different. I think it's a level of respect for the process, and for that process that, okay, we have people in the property, there's pre-foreclosure, there's different elements to it, as opposed to going to a vacant property where there's nobody in it, and, you can offer the bank, and what it is. So you got to account for individuals. So I guess the main thing is to go into the process of each one of those properties are unique. Each situation is unique, and that there's no cookie cutter way of doing it. That's the thing I run into a lot. Then you'll get that phone call, be like, hey, what, I got a deal, and, is there a certain way that this can happen? And it's really not like a cut and dry answer to it. It really depends on the transaction. It really depends on, the house. You think I can make $20,000 off this property? I see it. I looked on Zillow, and it shows it's worth $250, and it's on, and they got it. And they have it. It's on auction.com for $180. But what's being missed is, what's being missed is that's what the starting bid is starting at. So the starting bid is, so just to kind of touch on the importance of those numbers, and set a strategy for yourself. What's your rule of thumb? What do I want to see? I want to see $40,000 in my per transaction. If so, then I have to look for 60. I have to make sure that 60 is in the deal, And if I get the full 60, then I win. I make up for the time that the last deal that I only got 30, So there's a win. There's that part of of the transaction that pre-foreclosures is getting a list, and when there's 3 payments missed, there's lists out there, ways to get those lists. Someone gets them lists all the time. A good person, you want allies of, I can't stress how important it is enough to have allies in the field. So that inspector that's coming by the house taking pictures of those properties, he's a good source, because he's going to get a list from that asset management company, and he's riding around daily. And the reason I know that is because I get those calls all the time to do those BPOs. BPOs, a broker price opinion. So part of what happens in the process is a person goes to pre-foreclosure. You miss 3 payments, 2 payments, or 3 payments. The bank then begins to say, okay, all right, you technically are in foreclosure already. So they're going to send a company out there, hey, ABC Real Estate Company, you want this assignment to go do a broker price opinion for us? We'll pay you $40 to give us. Sometimes they'll be just ride-bys. Sometimes there'll be a full, 3 comps and 3 solds. They want, now this bank is in California and you're on the East Coast, and wherever they send you and say, go take these pictures for me in this property, what they're really doing is checking that property to see if it's still occupied. Because now they're saying, all right, well, wow, we lent this money expecting a 10% return each month. Our business is income. We make money off of our money. So if he don't pay that mortgage payment, it's not working. So the quicker we get that property turned back over, the quicker we can utilize that money again to re-lend it out and make more money off of our money. So after 3 payments, you get a person to go out and they take pictures of the property. And you get a picture of the property, and they want pictures of the property to see if, sometimes they'll tell you, knock on the door, see if there's, can you determine if someone lives there or not? Is there a car in the driveway when you ride by? Is someone in the property, and sometimes that's all the inspection entails. So, an individual like that with a list like that is more valuable, a valuable list to seek out your pre-foreclosure properties that may be good properties that you may want to find to invest in. Whether you're going to flip it, you're going to flip them and pull all the money off the flips that you make, and turn it into bigger deals. But you can leverage. So there's ways to leverage your position, leverage what leverage your credit, leverage your money in a transaction like that. Because the more you get into it, and know going into that transaction that each and every one of them are going to be different. They're all going to have a different element to it, and at the end of the day, it really comes down to the value that's in it, the equity in it. How much can you make off of it once it's sold? Is this one you're going to keep and hold? Because some properties you don't sell, some of them you're going to hold until, I like those ones around schools, buildings and churches and hospitals and around areas like that, because those areas are going to be maintained, and for the most part, you're not going to, find too much going on. Now you always want the worst house, the best house on the worst block, and you want the best house on the worst block. You can't get caught up in nothing nobody say in the hype about, well, I wouldn't buy in that area, because, in 5 years, you'll be laughing on your way to the bank. You want to see what the city's doing in your area. What plans are being, what's being done in your area, in your neighborhood. What does the city have planned? Because a lot of those times we mentioned, I think before, is that those got your question. Got you. So those plans have been drawn out 10 years in advance, so your spot might be slated for a tear down and rebuild. So the value that it is today definitely may not be tomorrow. So you want the best house, the worst house on the best block is your equity in your property will escalate much quicker. So if your property is on a block where there's 10 beat up homes on it, it's a process that We got to gradually grow that neighborhood. It's going to gradually grow in value. It's going to grow. Real estate always grows. It always grows. It's not, value in real estate always go up. The question is how fast and by how much, right? So it's like, so if you got the worst, that house on the block that is in the worst shape, and I have a listing like that right now, and it's in New Jersey, and it's very, very nice. The block is pristine, right off the highway, right in New York, perfect. Everything for, perfect for a renter, perfect for an investor, perfect for a homeowner. And it just needs a little bit of work. All the other homes around it is nice and pretty, right? So what happens is the bank knows the value of the property is going to be worth more quicker. So I guess the quickest way to say it is the value. Because once that property is brought back, you put a little bit of money into it. Now your value equity is there quicker. So to an investor, I might be willing to pay a little bit more for that property, because all the properties around it, because once I turn it, once it's turned, you can get the market value of what it's worth much faster. So that's one of the reasons why. And a lot of times you can get the property a lot cheaper sometimes. But that was one of the rule of thumbs, is always to look for, because it's what a person will pay you for the property is really what the value is. So, if a person is willing to pay, and I find this happen a lot, moving and being a transplant to Pennsylvania, and coming here from New Jersey and being like New Jersey and New York prices they up here, right? And then you get to Pennsylvania, rural Pennsylvania, and you find those properties are like half that. You're like, wow, this building would be worth what in New Jersey? 3 times that much. But then you run into the factor that, yeah, but the cost of living is not as, you're not going to be able to get as much rent as you would get in New Jersey. So all those factors play a part in your due diligence with the pre-foreclosure and with your buying. I hope that answered the question about buying insurance, being buying the worst house in the best block. When I say best block, is meaning well-kept properties, homes that are where the values are, houses are nice, and there's a house that pop up and it's just in decay and needs work, with an area where so when I say best block, the worst house in the best block, that's what I mean by that part. Homes that may need a little bit of work, but it's in a great area, or it's in an area that's a desirable area. And part of your exit strategy should always be,
hold on real quick before you go to exit strategy. Hold on. Yes. Why do you want the best house in the worst block? Okay. He answered it. Okay. Yeah, he meant to say worst house on this block. Yeah. Got you. Let's go all the way back to, you didn't say individually needed, but that's what you meant. The utilities and all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's go back there, because that was like one of the greatest things that you pointed out.
Okay.
You will be cutting into your money. Now, I would tell you, I just really don't like single home. I don't. It's just. I mean, do you want 500 people paying you or one person paying you? Right. My mindset has shifted over the years in a dramatic way. But so he said $400 a house. I was taught 200, but that was, friggin' 12 years ago. So inflation. So 400 is very good. That's the new 200. 400 is the new 200. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's the new 200. I was taught that in 2008, 200. Well, obviously now 400 would be the bare minimum too, because it will increase your rent. Like, you have to know, because your taxes, your insurance, and your mortgage is all going to be escrow together.
Mm-hmm.
So you want, they're going to pay you 13, excuse me, if you have to pay out 1,300, then if you want 400, 13 plus 4, that's 17. So you have to charge $1,700 for that. Now, I'm going to tell you, and I know Maurice is going to tell you, but I'm most certainly going to tell you as an investor, if you're charging $1,700 and the fair market rent value is $2,300, then you need to be charging $2,300.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't care what your $400 said. You know what I'm saying?
No
Whatever
doubt.
your $400 said, then you just got you a sweet deal.
Mm-hmm.
And you making $900 extra a month versus whatever it may be. You charge fair market rent, get your profit. But at the same time, what you don't do, and this is what you got to receive, if you want $400 a month and your expenses are $2,200 a month, then you don't go charge $2,600 a month in a neighborhood with $2,300 a month is standard.
Right.
You take that 200, and then what you do is you have that first month deposit, last month deposit up front, and now you can weed out people who's going to tear up your property.
Yeah.
Because only Alicia can afford, $2,300 deposit. You know what I'm saying? She got money all in her purse. It's just tucked in there. Do you want Alicia's? You don't want, those folk that's going to tear your stuff up. Because now you really adding to your expenses. So I just want to jump back. And I think that was the most brilliant thing. Well, you said plenty of brilliant things, but that was, can you break down again? You said something about, I forget the acronym, BPOP.
Oh, BPO?
BPO. Break that down. That's broker talk there.
Yeah. Yeah. So a BPO, and you'll find it in different, BPOs just means broker price opinion, or CMA, comparable market analysis. Depending on where you at, they'll be called those things. And they're not to be mixed up with an appraisal. So what that is and you want that person on your team too, because that's what the real estate agent gives the bank. The bank say, okay, look, they look like they missed 3 payments. I'm panicking. We were banking on that money. I bought this other car based on that monthly payment. Obviously it's not bank. Don't do it that way, but they're not paying. So go out there and give me a value on that property. They're going to send you to do a broker price opinion. So as a broker, you have access to what's called the MLS, the multiple listing service, or all the properties that have sold in that area in the last 3 months, 6 months. So usually where BPO works is this. You're going to go and they're going to say, I need 3 solds and 3 active properties listings right now that's on the market. So my property is a 3-bedroom Cape Cod, single family, I would say multifamily, 2-unit duplex. And it has 3 bedrooms on each side and 2 baths, and it's a colonial. 3 bedrooms, colonial, with 2 garages, right? It's a duplex. The bank gonna say, go and please tell me the value of what that property is worth. And they'll send you up to it, they send it to a broker, and there's houses out there now that's all they do is gather all those inventory, all those properties, and send brokers out there to do. There's some brokers and agents making $800 a week off doing BPOs. There's BPO, it's so much, so plentiful. And this is why I know that there's more inventory out there than what we're really seeing, because we get the calls and the orders for the BPOs, but we don't see it in the inventory, that's being introduced to the market. So it's not, there's a gap there, with, that's a whole nother conversation for another time. So that the bank will say, give me a BPO on this duplex, which is 4 bedroom, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Now you got to go out there and find that exact property though, because I can't compare it to a duplex with 1 bedroom and 1/3 or 3/1 with 1 garage. Now you can do that, and the only reason you can do that is if you have to explain it. One thing about real estate, and you'll learn what I've learned, is everything is documented. Document. If it's not in writing, it don't exist. when it comes to real estate. If it ain't in writing, it does
Yeah,
not
we got to
exist.
come back to that. We got to come back to
Yes.
that. That is, yeah, that's not the most brilliant thing you said.
Okay. So, so you got to go in there and you're going to look for all the properties that are 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, two garages that are attached to that property, right? So so in other words, you have to compare apples to apples, and I can't stress this enough how often people will say, well, my property sold for 400,000, but okay, your property is a Tudor. That property was a Cape Cod. Or you have to compare apples to apples, and it has to be the exact type of property, the exact square footage, or very close. We usually the rule of thumb is within 5 to 10%, 15% within in between. So if I'm comparing a single family, right, with 3 bedrooms, I'll put in my search, and it's a science. And when you do it enough, you'll narrow it down to, you can put in like 4 categories or 5 categories and get your exact property. So for me, what I do is I do the square footage, I do the age of the property, I do the bedroom size, varying between 3. So if it's a three bedroom, I'm going to go between 3 and 5, possibly 2 and 5, 2 and 4 bedrooms. And I'm going to go, if it's 1,000 square feet, I may go between 900 and 1,500 square feet, because that's your property. You're going to find that exact same property. And this is a good rule of thumb for, if you're investing, to do that yourself, to get in the habit of doing that, because that's how you're going to get the true value of what your property is going to actually sell for. And it's based on that value, that BPO, and it goes back to 3 months. You go back 3 months of sold, and then you have what's actively on the market. You can't go by what's actively on the market as much. Most agents won't put it on. They're not going to be really wanting to waste your time to put a property on the market for higher than what it's going to sell for. But yeah, I've seen it happen. And don't trust nobody's information. Always verify it yourself. Always try to make sure you verify the information yourself. Verify it yourself if you're able to. So the BPO is that is that it's a broker price opinion. It gives you the value of the property, and actually it's the exact same thing. And some appraisers, you'll get the calls from appraisers all the time, and they're like, hey, I want to use your comp for a property that I'm appraising. I want to use your property for your property for a property I'm appraising. In the MLS, you didn't say whether it was you gave any money back. So because sometimes you can buy a property and you can have the seller to finance your closing costs and help with your closing costs. So you get calls from the appraiser saying, did you give any cash back to the seller, because it affects the sale price. So if you sold the property for $150,000 and you gave the buyer $6,000 towards their closing costs to help them get into the property, that house technically didn't sell for $150,000. So it didn't sell for $150,000. So a lot of times the appraiser will ask you as a real estate professional, hey, or you've even challenged some of the appraisers' appraisals, especially when this market hit, and the market had really hit. Appraisers was gun shy for a long time, for about a year. Appraisers were afraid to appraise properties for the value that they were really worth, because they were, it was being, a lot was going on in the market. The appraisers were being blamed because a lot of inflation of values was happening back in 2008 that caused the market to crash, So,
okay, we got to talk about that too. We got to go deep in that one too. So the inflation of value, and you said something earlier of, if it ain't written, it's a lie.
Yeah. Yes.
That is a lesson I learned the hard way. Wow. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. So much to talk about there, but keep going. You on the road with those two things. You could have saved you a lot of money.
Yeah. If it ain't written, it ain't right. It just don't exist. Because I've gotten to the closing table at the end of a transaction, and I learned that the hard way too, man. Like, more than once, in different ways. But Oh, I didn't say that. I said 30% your way, 30% my way, 70% your 70% my way, 30% your way. I don't know what you meant. You misunderstood what I said. Oh, got wax in your ears. I don't know what, you know. I don't know what you. Yeah. Why would I do that? Well, that's what the agreement we had. Where prove it. So and to the point of, yeah, so that $400 or $200 is a minimum of what you take. Please always charge what your value, what the market will bear. Whatever property you get, always charge what the market will bear. You can get $2,300, and if you just get it, you know, but don't go less than that number, your number, whatever it is. If it's 200, 400, whatever your number as an investor, you get to pick that. And every investor is different.
Let me jump in right there. Because that whole, I said 70, you said 30. My third property, third or fourth, I forget. I literally bought a property as is. That's what was written in the contract. That's what was written.
Mm-hmm.
What the lady told me was everything was straight. You try to get that. That's what she told me. And she was so helpful. She taught me one of my most valuable lessons. I mean, she did it so well, so well. It was so brilliant. I mean, she was so gentle, so helpful. And when I got there, the gas didn't pass the city's inspection. The lights didn't pass the city inspection. And there was one more. It was gas, lights, and there was a whole tree. Oh man, and I'm talking about a Texas tree, y'all. I don't mean one of y'all trees. This is a tree that fell over in the backyard that was every bit of 10 feet wide and 40 feet long. Outstanding. 50 feet wide, all that stuff like that. And then here's what happened. I say, ma'am, thank you. I said, ma'am, shouldn't we? I mean, you told me, look, the property said as is. Then, Alicia, me on that hood stuff. Hey, man, I'm telling you what it is. Me on that hood stuff. Hey, man, you know somebody do lights? Yeah, Craig do lights. That's his real name, too. I wish I was making this up. I wish Craig, that sound like Friday. I wish I was making this up. That is not. Craig do lights. Craig electrician. Craig come through, charge me $300. No. Something like $700. Charge me $700. It's 2008 money too, so it's a little bit more now. Just type in my name and take a picture of me or something. Do that stuff. Pay for the lights. Get the lights to inspection. I say, yeah, bro, man, because I didn't want to bring in, you know, some light electric. God dog it. I didn't want to bring in somebody that was going to charge me all that money. You know what I'm saying? I just needed it to pass inspection. I got you, fam. I'm trying to talk our language. I got you, fam. I got you. You passed. You passed inspection. You straight. Let me tell y'all what this. Let me tell y'all. So I called the city out, which they charged me to come out to make sure the permits is there. Well, actually, no, I'm lying. I called them out and said pass inspection. Then when they got out there and said, oh no, this ain't even close to pass inspection. Forget what he messed up the house with. Forget that. This man didn't even connect the power line to the house, which I just thought that was common sense. You understand? I'm not getting power from the word of God. You understand? It's not lighting up my houses. Do you get what I'm saying? You go ahead, take a picture. I'm going to take a picture, y'all. All right, there you go. Anyway, doesn't matter. Now, so I failed the inspection. Now the city's saying, now you got to come down here and pay for a permit. All right, so I'm $700 in. I forget what they charging for the permit. It ain't much, but it's still, I'm hot now, Alicia, because now Craig got me messed up. I ain't talked to Craig since. Oh, Craig was a friend of the family. I ain't talked to Craig since. I ain't got no problem with him. He just can't fix nothing of mine. Can't fix nothing. So I had to pay $3,000 for an electrician to get the whole house ready. So now I'm out. I just bought this house, and I bought it through owner financing. So I spent all my little money. And now I spend more money. And I only spent $2,000 down, Maurice, to get this house. $2,000 down, 10% interest. House was, I don't know, it's like a $40,000 house. $2,000, good deal. As is though. I spent $5,000 getting the house ready, which is more than what I spent on the house. This was my second. This was my third deal. Let me tell you why this messed me up, because the contract said as is. And Alicia, I wasn't ready. I was young. I was hungry. I had something to prove. I lost that house because here's what happened. A renter walked out of that house that I was going to get, that I had got. It was my uncle. Never, ever do real estate with your family. Please, y'all, spare yourself thine stresses. Ooh, child, please. Anyway, so he walks out. So I had to move into that house. That wasn't the plan. Then another renter walked out on the first one because it was a duplex. So now I can't afford to save that other house, and I moved in this house so I can afford it. But now when they walked out the other one, I lost that one. Then someone walked out of a third one. I lost 3 houses in a course of 90 days. All because I didn't respect as is. That is a horror story. If you ever want to lose 3 houses in 90 days, Antonio T. Smith Jr., he can hook you up. I know exactly how to do that, Alicia. I am brilliant at losing 3 houses in 90 days. Can't nobody do it the way I did it. I'm telling you. I overdid it, let me tell you. So anyway, I love what you said about that. If it ain't in the contract, then don't try to go back. Well, no, Alicia, you said, no. I said what was in that contract. Y'all remember that, because I know Alicia wanted to get the real estate. Remember that. All right. So you learn from that mistake. You don't got to make it. You can just listen to me or read a book, and then that's the whole point of reading books. It's like, anyway, let me be quiet. Go ahead, Chuck. Actually, no, let me go ahead and say what I'm going to say. Let me go ahead and say what I'm saying. I remember when we was kids, one of my little cousins go, he farted. And the whole, you know how you have 16 folk over grandmother's house in the den? I need some real folk that know what I'm talking about. You put the box fan under the sheets and you make your little air tent and you tie a little sheet on the doorknob and you got your whole little fortress going on and 16 of y'all laying on top of each other in the den. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Something like that. All 15 of them fools went over there to go verify if he farted. I knew I was an entrepreneur then, because I was the only one that didn't go. Because if you said it, I don't need to go verify that. If you lie, you lie. But what I'm not fit to do is mess up my nostrils so I could be in with the crowd. I'm not fit to do that. Now, the reason I just told you that story is if I just told y'all how to lose 3 houses in 90 days, don't go, let me go find out. I'm going to verify that. Just take my word. Just don't go verify. Don't go see if I'm telling the truth. Just don't go do it. Go ahead, Maurice.
That's right. Trust but verify, man. Trust but verify. Shoot. So, so not all real estate agents are created equal. Brokers, I have to set, and Integrity is living the truth, and honesty is telling the truth. Tell the truth, integrity is living it, right? So, shoot, you know, my electrician guy was $40. His favorite number was $40 Maurice. How much you gonna charge me for that, Henry? His real name was Henry too. He was an electrician. His brother had an electrical company. Henry, how much you gonna charge me for $40, Maurice? That's it, Maurice. Craig Henry. Henry was he would fix it. And you know, if Henry would have did that job and left the power off, I know why he did it, because he didn't want me to find out that something wasn't right, and he needed that. Something wasn't right, something was broken. So to the moral of that is to pay the right money the first time, because you'll end up paying double. You know, a lot of times it's better to pay the right money, the cost the first time, because you'll pay for it 3 or 4 times if you don't. I get it sometimes, especially when you're first starting out, you know, you don't have it. And that's one of the reasons why sometimes individuals may start with buying single family homes first, then venture out into multifamily homes, because the cost to acquire a single family home is less than it is when you're acquiring multifamily or multi-units. You got a larger down payment, you know, things of that nature too, you know. So, and you know, if that's what, you know, your desire is, right? And so pay the money the first time for it. And that's the title of a class too. Respect as is. So, you know, respect as is a good, you know, respect what's in the contract. So whatever's in that contract is really what is written. If you ever been to court for landlord eviction court, the first thing the judge asks you is, where's the lease? Because he's going to look at what's on paper. If you don't have a lease, then he's going to say to you, I've been in court and had the judge ask me, do you even have a copy of a lease that you use? You know, a copy of a lease that you typically use? Because they have something in court that's called intent, you know, and the judge usually, or the judge often will use that to make his determination, you know, his intent. You know, what was the intent of the person? So if you intended to do, you know, so they look at the intent of things. That's I wanted to add that part about, I think what's in writing is what matters. And you know, respecting as is, you know, if it says that, that's exactly what it means. And most of the times the banks, when you buy properties from the banks, that's what you're going to get. If you buy foreclosures and short sales, that's what you're going to get. Because usually when the property has slipped into that area, there's not a lot of money for repairs. There's not a lot of money to upkeep. So you're going to get some things in that property that's just going to be unkept, you know, and you're buying it as is. Hence is why you're getting a good deal, why you're going to get it. And you always add for that. You know, if you know, add for that, you know, add for the cost of repairs, the cost to bring it up to where you want it to be. So you always buying properties on, you're definitely not at market value. You're going to create your own rule of thumb of what the value is. The way I go into it, you put a dollar amount on every single thing. You put a dollar amount on if there's a train tracks behind the property. If there's a train track behind the property, you should put a dollar amount on the value of that, because you're going to get at least 5 to 10 people that's going to walk away from you leasing it or selling it because of the train track. There was a property that had sold that ended up selling for $5,000 because there was a train track. Part of it was the train track in front of it. And it was a property that was a government property, and it sat on the market for years. And it sold because it just sold for $5,000. So there's a dollar amount for everything, even the view. You know, you can put a dollar amount on the view. You know, New York, you see that all the time, skyscrapers and, you know, different cities, depending on where you are. So you can put a dollar amount on everything. So you'll be itemizing every single thing, you know, itemizing all of the, you know, the view. You can itemize, you know, the age of the property. So you know, so that is, you can put a dollar amount on the view. You can put a dollar amount on, you know, each bedroom. And there's something in the BPO also is a tool that there's a set price, a rule of thumb close, you know, price for what one bedroom is worth, what a garage is worth, what a bathroom is worth, a kitchen is worth. So in other words, there's something that's called adjustments when you do your BPO, right? So if you can't find 3 bedrooms and you have to compare it with a 4th bedroom, you'll make a deduction of about between $7,000 to $10,000 for that 1 bedroom. So if I have to compare it and I can't find a 3 bedroom, okay, it's still a colonial. It's still still was built between 1920 and 1925. It still has the square footage. Matter of fact, it's the exact same square footage as my subject property, but the only difference is it's a 4 bedroom, and this one has a garage and mines don't. So you'll take off for that. You deduct for that. So I'm only driving that point to just mention that. Everything.
No, that's very important because that happens in the real world. I hate that it happens too, but it does happen. Yeah. Well, we'll make that it for today. We got plenty more, but we're gonna have to keep doing this. Any final questions? Alicia could pull out her $500,000 out her purse, and she was like, "I got enough. I'm finna go buy a house. Right? I'm finna buy this office. I'm finna buy this whole office right now. They finna know I'm their boss now." What she said. I understand. Other than that, well, any final words? Hey girl. No, hey girl. Hey. Hey, what's happening? Yay. How you doing? Yeah, we see you. Yes. Yeah, I can't see her background. It's one of the millionaires she worked with. Any final words, Maurice?
Oh man, no. I mean, no. Just that's it. I don't have anything. Just respect as is. If it ain't in writing, it doesn't exist.
No
it's
doubt.
Not in writing.
No doubt.
That's it. Yep.
Thing I would tell you is, go find y'all a real estate podcast to add value on top of the value we're gonna add. Just doesn't matter. Just somebody that actually does the work.
Yes.
Remember, a teacher. Anyone teaching because they're a teacher is not a teacher. That is not a teacher. A practitioner who teaches is a teacher. That is different. Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, Mother Teresa did not read a book on integrity and go, you know what? I think we should feed the poor. Everybody, feed the poor. No. They went out and fed the poor and said, hey, this is how you do it. There is a big difference. There's a really big difference. Don't read a book about feeding the poor and then go teach people how to feed the poor.
Sure.
You can't read a book about push-ups and expect to get chest muscles. That's not the way it works. You can't read a book about swimming and know how to swim. A practitioner should be a teacher. A teacher who just teaches is an employee or a con artist. They're not a teacher. Those are my final words. Antonio T. Smith Jr., you can plan better, you can dominate. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you for a lot of stuff later on tonight. All right, everybody. Bye-bye.